I don't suppose you need me to tell you there's been a startling rise in unsolved burglaries in England and Wales. This is in the past year alone. More than 200,000 investigations were closed without a suspect being identified. That's the equivalent of 584 every single day. Joining me to discuss this, TalkTV correspondent Oliver Whitfield-Miocic. You've been investigating this in quite some depth, Ollie.
Yeah, it's startling figures, as you've just said. The figures have actually come from the Liberal Democrats who have looked at the crime stats over the past year. They found in England and Wales more than 3/4 of all burglaries going unsolved. The worst parts of the country, South Yorkshire, where that figure jumps up to 84%, then Hampshire, then London, with the Metropolitan Police not able to solve 4 out of every 5 burglaries. Wow. Well, earlier on today, I caught up with one woman whose house was burgled back in May. She says the Met Police closed down her investigation within 24 hours of that crime happening. She says she now can't trust the Met because of what she says is their inaction.
It's around 5 p.m. and my husband went to do school run. At that time, my kitchen window was unlocked. So by the time he left the house to do the school run, then they lift up the window up and they got inside. They just they opened up everything and they steal cash and all my jewelry and all my bags and stuff like that. Yeah.
How does it make you feel less than 24 hours after a burglary is being committed in your home and then the police are telling you they want to close the case?
Yeah, I feel really upset and annoyed as well. Because with all the evidence I gave them like that and they just don't want to do anything, that's really bad for us and, even for the community as well.
What's your message to the police?
For every single crime like this, they need to sort it out, look into it properly and try to help because with young kid and baby at home is our home and I feel not safe even in my own place. So they must do something, to help out the community, even myself as well.
Do you trust the police?
No, not at all. Not anymore. I don't trust them at all because they don't help or they're not doing anything for us, even for the community as well. So.
Gosh, that's such disturbing footage, isn't it? Imagine having to watch that as your own home. My God, that forensic going over everything, lifting the mattress up. Like, oh, my goodness, poor woman.
And the husband and the daughter came back 4 minutes after that happened.
Wow.
Now, in response, the Metropolitan Police have disputed that the case was closed down within a day, even though we've seen the emails that was sent the very next day to this victim of the crime, which said that the Metropolitan Police had definitely closed the case. They say they continued investigating for another 2 weeks. They've said that they want us to put her in touch with the Metropolitan Police, which we have done. So potentially there's some good news from this investigative journalism that we've carried out, but we can't possibly do that for all 213,000 unsolved burglaries. The Home Office, in response, has had this to say. The Home Secretary does expect to see forces getting the basics right, deterring crime, but also catching more criminals. That's why she's called for every force to send an officer to invest the scene of every home burglary, which is now happening right across the country. Victims we've spoken to say, yes, the police are turning up. They are giving them advice about how to change their locks and doors. But they say the big question is, once they've been to visit, how much of an investigation really does take place once they leave?
Right, let's join former Chief Superintendent in the Metropolitan Police, Dal Babu. Dal, thanks for joining us on the programme. You've heard everything that Ollie has to say, and I'm sure you saw that poor woman's CCTV footage of the burglars in her home. I mean, she must have felt dreadful watching that. Then she showed it to police, and within a day, she says they'd concluded there was nothing they could do. I think lots of people would like to know, why not? Isn't that what police are meant to be for, to go and find the burglars and those who have done us harm?
Well, I think Ollie's report there was very disturbing in the sense that this is happening quite clearly across the country on multiple occasions. There was further opportunities, and the fact that an email was sent that the matter was closed, the police are disputing that, but I think you've got strong empirical evidence that the matter had been closed. What you would have expected is they would have looked at the images there of the suspects. You would have had somebody going in looking for DNA, fingerprints. But what you've got is a CCTV footage. Somebody may know somebody who's wearing those images. So those should have been circulated And from what I'm hearing, that wasn't done. So it was a missed opportunity. I mean, it may well be the fact that you're showing this video footage may prompt people's memories. They may recall some of the clothing that these individuals are wearing. You've got some good glimpses of their faces, albeit masked up. So there may be some opportunities even now. But this is something the police should have done. I think one thing I will say, Vanessa, which doesn't really get talked about, is we've talked about the fact that 20,000 police officers have been cut, but there's been 18,500 civilians cut. And they're the people that would do the analysis, look at the crime stats. There'd be the civilian officers that would be sitting in borough intelligence units. I mean, a lot of that, because of the cutbacks, they are not being replaced. So the police officers are being replaced. But those civilians who would be doing the analysis, putting the CCTV footage up for media, analysing DNA, they have just not been replaced. So police officers are backfilling those roles. And what we need is the investment of police civilians as well as police officers, so there can be some analysis on the offending behaviour.
I think this idea, though, that the Home Secretary says, police officers must attend the scene of a burglary, the robbing of a dwelling house, and people thinking, well, yeah, they showed up, sure. They had no intention of doing anything about this at all. They pretty much put the whole thing to bed as they walked in through the door. This thing that people often say about being given a crime number rather than the crime being investigated or any attempt being made whatsoever to solve it. Now, this woman provided the police with that footage. We hear of people tracking their bikes, for example, stolen bikes, and saying to the police, well, I've tracked it. It's over there. It's a number 10 Cherry Tree Lane. And the police still say they don't have the facilities all the time or the resources to go and find it or apprehend the thief.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head, Vanessa. When I was a young PC, I remember being hauled over the coals. But when I talked about reporting a crime, this shouldn't be about reporting it, because reporting is that. This should be about an investigation. And an investigation should allow you to look at all the opportunities, to look at what the investigating opportunities are, and then act on them. And so the language is really important. We need to be looking at investigations as opposed to reporting. But I'm afraid a lot of police work now is about reporting as opposed to actual investigation.
All right, Del Babu, thank you very much. Ollie, thanks so much.